Hello everyone and welcome to my review of Danganronpa 3, The End of Hope's Peak Academy, the anime. Now, as it said in the title card, this will be a spoiler-free review, mostly because I want people to be able to watch it for themselves based on this information, and hopefully they go out and watch it and feel the same things I do, or different. I love to hear other opinions. So, let's just get right into how I felt about this anime. If you follow me on Twitter, you kind of know where I'm going with this, but I'm gonna say that my opinion might be a little controversial because I absolutely adored every single second of this anime. So, I have some topics written down about what I'll talk about, starting with how I personally watched this show. I watched it on Funimation, and I know people told me to not, but I like to stick to my guns, and I did watch the dub. Now, I've been told quite a bit that the dub is the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in Danganronpa history. Mostly through, I've seen people linking all these, like, check out this cringe compilation of all the horrible things that Funimation added, but I'm gonna be very honest here. I truly believe that everyone who says that the dub is horrible has not actually watched it, because if I'm gonna be very honest, this is one of the most, like, heart-wrenching dub performances I've watched in a long time. There's a lot of good stuff in here that, like, maybe there's one or two sections where they put in one small joke that is not even remotely against what Danganronpa originally is. Like, for instance, you have Monami at one point says, "My body is ready," but, like, it's such a short, quick jab, and when you know the character, when you know, just like how the games are, that doesn't remove anything. In fact, it actually contributes. That's what Danganronpa is. The games are like that. And as someone who studies localization, as someone who knows localizers, I appreciate the fact that I truly believe pretty much 99.9% of this is incredibly accurate to the Japanese. But of course, you put in one joke that is not what's in the Japanese version because, some jokes can't get translated into English, and you have the internet freak out. So I love the dub, even with the fact that some of the voices were changed. Now, I'd say about 50% of the voices were the same and 50% were changed out. The ones who were brought back are awesome. I mean, they're doing just as good of a job in the games, if not better, because they have to work with lip flaps, but they get longer lines, which is quite welcome. But the new voices, aside from like one or two, I thought they were all either close enough to the original that I could barely tell, past the initial sort of shock, or that the new voices were, like, they were great alternate interpretations of the characters' voices that I think worked well for them. The only, like, real big examples are, like, I still hate Monokuma's dub voice, because, the reason that it's like this is because they did dub the Danganronpa 1 anime before the Danganronpa 1 game got announced here, so they kind of had to work with it, kind of making it up on their own, and as such, then when they brought back to this, they decided, okay, we're gonna do, anime continuity for the voices instead of doing instead of making it in continuity with the games, which then leads to stuff like, Keiji Tang usually voices, Yasuhiro, but in this case, he doesn't voice Yasuhiro, he voices another character, because he wasn't with Funimation when they dubbed the original anime, I'm pretty sure, or they might have changed around rules. Regardless, I think the dub voices are all fine. Monokuma's terrible, but he, like, in a shocking twist after Ultra Despair Girls, appears very, very little in it. To a point where I was shocked, and at one point he pops up for the last time on section, and I'm like, oh, right, you're in this, because the tone is quite a bit different. Even though it definitely has, ties to, kind of how Danganronpa goes, the tone is not the exact same as the games, although, as it goes on, it does approach it. And, I'm getting off track here, I'll talk about that later. So this is animated by Studio Lerche, Lerche, who I've never heard of before, until I googled their name, and I discovered that they did, like, Monster Musume and the original Persona 4 animation, all these really good anime that I'm like, yeah, these guys are awesome. And as such, the animation quality is outstanding. Like, there's a couple instances where it's like, you can see that, okay, this episode is not as important, so they kind of pulled back on the budget a bit, but it's nowhere near like Dragon Ball Super levels. But when the money's in, it's in, and it looks really good for both the Despair and Future arcs. And I gotta say, out of any sort of anime adaptation of anything I've watched, this one is like, you need to know the context of all three games. You need to have played Danganronpa 1, you need to have played Danganronpa 2, and you need to have played Ultra Despair Girls. Once you get those three, show is such a magical experience in weaving them all together. When I first played Danganronpa 1, I'm like, cool, I like this a lot. And then I played Danganronpa 2, and I was actually a little surprised at how it just kind of brushes up against Danganronpa 1, and it doesn't fully connect with it. And then Ultra Despair Girls, even though it tried to connect it still kind of felt a little tenuous. Well, this one weaves them all together wonderfully. And it really feels like a real living universe, which is ironic because you basically started with 3 games in enclosed spaces. 3 games that are isolated from the outside world. Well, this show very, very well ties them together, and I really enjoyed that. And you get really good callbacks to all the games. You got characters who will do their talking poses from the visual novel games. There is an Ultra Despair Girls focused episode, and having played that game, I'm like, oh my god, they have perfectly replicated the gameplay experience in the show. Like, it's cool, it's awesome. And you got like, not only like sequels and prequels, but like mid-quills to all the games, and you get to see them all from either different perspectives or redone in an anime style, which is so nice. And to go with that, you have the amazing music, which I love so much, and you get like pretty much songs from every single game, and when they come up, like, they usually save them for when they're needed. They don't play them always, but when they play them, you're like, oh, there it is, oh my god, it's so good. And it was, for any fan of the first 3 games, or even fan of the Let's Play, I would say this is, just to see everything tied together is awesome. But let's actually talk about the show itself, and I guess the mysteries of the show, because I wouldn't, like, for instance, there is 0 court or classroom trial battles in this. None. There's none. That's not even a spoiler, but you get to see the inside of a trial room, but you don't actually, there is none of that. Which might seem a bit weird for people who kind of associate that exclusively with Danganronpa. I know some people, it'd kind of be like making an Ace Attorney anime without a court battle, but I feel like Danganronpa is a lot more than just the court battles. And as such, you still have mysteries, and the overall mystery of the killing game in this one is very interesting because they do something quite different, where it's a killing game but without any breaks per se, aside from the fact that every time the timer runs out, everybody goes to sleep, and the killer can kill someone. And that's a really interesting way of keeping up the pace, and this show is really well paced. It really feels like every single episode, starting from the first one, going to the last, stuff happens. And at least once per episode, and when I'm talking per episode, I mean per Despair Arc and Future Arc episode 1, each of them, I had one moment every episode where I'm like, oh no, or holy crap, or I get out of my seat and yell many a swear word because I cannot believe what's happening. But the coolest sort of change, which I would honestly think would be very interesting to incorporate into a game, into a Danganronpa game, is the idea of forbidden actions, where everybody on the wristband that looks very similar to the one in Ultra Despair Girls, except it doesn't blow up. This one administers poison if you do the listed forbidden action on it. Now, the forbidden actions can be as mundane as being put into a 3-point suplex hold. That will never happen. To some of them is quite almost unfair, and I could see why that would be, someone would get mad at that, but I do feel like that's part of the game. It's the despair of discovering, you know, your friend's forbidden action hinges on what you do, you know? And I really found that very interesting. And I really thought for building despair, it was really well done. But the cool thing was, is as this is like a mystery show, you can actually see characters avoiding their action, because you're not told all their actions from the get-go. Some of them you're told, like Makoto's is he pretty much tells everyone right away, because like, I want to trust you all, and that makes sense for his character. But then a lot of other characters keep theirs a secret. And you might not notice it when you're first watching, but then as soon as they reveal their action, you're like, oh my god, that's why they did that, you know? There's a lot of moments where I would say this show is rewatchable, where if you know the mystery, rewatching it will let you say, oh my god, that's why he did that. And there was a couple that I saw and I'm like, oh, he's not doing that, that must mean his forbidden action is this. But there was a couple where I'm like, that, oh my god, now it makes sense, or I've never even noticed that. And it was really cool, and I really like this idea. Now, mind you, the forbidden actions, of course, needs a victim to get going, to prove it, and I'm kind of, like, as soon as the cast was revealed for because the future arc has pretty much an entirely new set of characters, plus a couple of them from Danganronpa 1, as soon as that cast was revealed, I looked at them and I'm like, oh, this character's gonna be pretty annoying, and then boom, they're dead right away, and I'm like, okay. And I heard some people say that the new characters don't get as much attention and love, and they're not as interesting as characters from Danganronpa 1 or 2, but I'd actually make an argument for, well, number one, yeah, that makes sense, because this is a 24 episode anime versus a 40 to 50 hour, well, is it 40 to 50? Yeah, probably about 40 to 50 hour game, pretty much. You do get less time with some of them, and it is a little more spread out, but they're all very interesting characters, and ones that could have easily been put into a game itself. Like, of course, the ones with the least amount of character will be the ones that die first, because you get less screen time with them, but aside from the first couple, you get a bunch, and it's awesome. There's also the fact that because this show is split across 2 times, you got the future arc and the despair arc, which takes place in the past, you do get to see them from what they used to be to now. And even if they die, you get to see how they used to be. There are some of them that get pretty much zero play in either. But they're not important to the main plot, and that's okay. But that's for the future arc. For the despair arc, which takes place literally during the fall of Hope's Peak Academy, you get a lot of time with the Danganronpa 2 kids, and at first I was like, man, some of them have weird design changes, but not only did they grow on me, but then later on you learn, yeah, it's because it's people change when they're younger, and some of them have explanations, which is dope, and I really like that. And it's not like, oh, this is their anime look. No, that's how they just used to look, and they are not, some of them get very little time, some of them are just there for a few jokes, and the first couple episodes of the despair arc are pretty slice of life anime-ish, but as it goes on, things change. Just like the first couple episodes of the future arc feel very much like a battle anime, like a shonen style battle anime. You got crazy Super Saiyan stuff going on, you got like all this stuff, and that does change, and that's why I'd say both shows are genre traveling. You get shows going from, you go from like slice of life to almost horror, and then you got like action anime going to mystery, and then they both lead up together to what is, all I can say distinctly, Danganronpa. And it's genuinely intriguing. The whole time, I was at the edge of my seat and loving it. And I even had my sister, who knows nothing of Danganronpa, really. She was up in the room, and she was just watching a couple stuff, and even she was getting emotional at characters she wasn't even attached to. She's like, why? Oh, no. And, so it was really well done, and she was able to pick up on that. So even if you don't have the deepest knowledge of Danganronpa, I'd say if you have a base knowledge, you're good and will enjoy it for sure. A particular note for the characters, one of which is literally just Yu Narukami from Persona 4. He is actually a character I can see some people disliking, much like how some people really dislike Bakugo in My Hero Academia, but I actually really enjoyed him as a very different antagonist for Makoto to have to deal with, because pretty much every other opponent Makoto has faced, he can basically beat down with his words and his wit. And this guy is the complete opposite of that. In fact, he feels like his own protagonist, and I guess that's kind of what I feel like this anime is. It almost feels like a battle of protagonists of different genres. You got multiple characters who have very protagonistic traits, who believe that they are the protagonist fighting against each other, leading to some very interesting clashes, and some very hard to watch things if you're a fan of the original Danganronpa games. But despair is kind of the name of the game, and it's a little tough at times, but you gotta persevere through the despair to get to the hope. And I will say, I can see some people almost saying that the ending is too hopeful, because, oh my god, it led me to tears. There's pictures on Twitter you can go look at. But I honestly think it's for the best. And knowing that the series does continue after it, I do have to wonder where they're gonna go with it, for sure. But, you know, through this despair, you get some very despair-heavy events, some of which, like, for example, you get to see the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history unfold before your eyes. This thing that's been talked about, been hyped up for 3 games, and oh my god, do they nail it. This event has been hyped up for all this time, and it was one of the most chilling things I've ever watched. Thinking about it right now, I have goosebumps. And I will say that this show starts off pretty bubbly and pretty okay, even in the original, in the future section. It starts off not too bad, but as it goes on, it does increase and ramp up in the violence, blood, and almost gore departments, to a point where there was a couple times where I had to look away. I'm pretty good with that stuff, but I had to look away, because oh my god, they do stuff that is just like, holy crap. And the perpetrator of this is Junko. And I really found Junko in the games to, even though she was threatening, she wasn't overall, like, you didn't see that as much in the games themselves. But here you really get to see Junko in her glory, if you will. You get to see her animated in what she does and how she influences people and how she exerts her influence. And she very quickly went from, yeah, I like this villain, to, oh my god, this is a Griffith tier, like, unlikable supervillain. To a point where every time she's on screen, I felt not only disgusted, but terrified. What is she going to do now? And she hides it very well under her cute and bubbly exterior. Mind you, she doesn't have the original voice actresses playing her, which is a bit of a bummer. The new one does a good job, though, and really plays up the fashionista style for her, which leads to, when she starts doing what she does, to be greatly intimidating. Junko is terrifying in this show, which is, I think, always been the intended effect, but maybe because of how Western audiences, play the game, maybe they didn't get that, and we get to see how Junko did it, especially how she ruined the world. And I could see some people saying it's a bit of a butt pull, because when it's revealed that it wasn't just her charisma, which I feel a lot of people thought it was just her charisma with the students, right? When it's revealed it's not that, which is not really a spoiler, because you pretty much get told right away. When you get that, I could see some people being like, oh my god, that sucks. I wanted her to just be, just get people to her side by being herself. But I think it's good because it at least grounds her in a way that shows that she is not the omnipotent one. She needs others, and she uses others. She abuses others. You actually get a lot more of Ikuru Mikusaba, is that right? Hajime's alter ego. And it's, because I I didn't really get who he was when I played Danganronpa 2. I thought that was him originally, and that Hajime was just him kind of out of that persona, but no, it explains it a lot, and it really makes it a lot more sense. It contextualizes every game in a much better way. Though I will say, you need the game's knowledge to understand pretty much everything, because a lot of stuff with the ending, if you didn't know what happens in Danganronpa 1, you'll be very confused. And all of it is just so well done, in my opinion. I thought it was wonderful. I loved every second of it. Probably up there for my favorite anime adaptations of any video game, and probably up there for one of my favorite, like, arc-wielding, kind of putting everything together, arc-welding, rather, putting everything together, fitting it all into place, and wrapping it up in a very nice package. It was such a good experience, and I would highly recommend anyone who's a fan of Danganronpa to go and watch it, because I feel like it does so much well. It does even, and that's not to say that I don't see where people might dislike it. I do. I know there are people who are a lot more critical of things like this than me. I'm a very laissez-faire, what the author says, I accept. I know some people are not that. Some people like to question the author. Some people like to say, well, this doesn't make sense because of this. And there are decisions that are in this anime that are like, well, I mean, there was, when Danganronpa 2 was written, that wasn't the case, but then you kind of work this in. It's kind of like, there's no real retcons, but there's additional information, and it does get explained, which some people might not like. Some people might not like, oh, it makes this scene less powerful, or it makes this scene mean something else, and some people might not like that. Some people like the original interpretations to remain set, and everything else to, everything new to remain separate. I'm very different. If the author says, oh, by the way, this person was this, or by the way, this person was this, I'm okay with that. And as such, when we get these revelations, my mind goes, oh, wow, that's so cool, and not, that doesn't make sense, because in Chapter 5, Scene 2, he says this, which then contradicts, like, that's not my lifestyle. That's not it at all. So of course, your mileage may vary. If you're a very critical person with anime, with anything, then maybe I could see where there'd be issues with some of the characters and their actions, even some of the redone art styles. And can I just say, it's very interesting to see how both the shows, Future and Despair, have different art styles, but they then gradually move together into one. And it's very interesting, it's very subtle, but you can see it, and it's very cool. I didn't even say this. I did watch it in the proper way, which is, Future Despair, Future Despair, Future Despair, and that is the best way to watch it, 100%. At first I was like, I don't know, I could have binged one then binged the other, but then as it went on, and I realized, oh no, it very greatly, you need to watch it in this order, and when I did, I thought, that was super cool, and I really did enjoy that. I thought it was really neat to see things unfold simultaneously, and that's something that I guess you could not really do in a game. It would be very disorienting in a game, but in an anime, it works very well. And I guess that's what I feel like a lot of this. I feel like this could have been a game, but there's stuff in this that could definitely only be done in an anime, and I think it works. It uses the medium to its advantage, and that's why I really like it. It's not a game. It is an anime, and it knows it's an anime, and it uses that to its advantage to tell the final story of Hope's Peak Academy. At least we think. I don't know what's going to happen in Danganronpa V3. I'm really excited to move on to that. I've got my art for that ready to sort of get that all done. Again, it's very confusing that it's called Danganronpa V3, and this is Danganronpa 3. Regardless, that's about all I have to say. I do want to not talk about spoilers. Please keep the comment section as spoiler-free as possible. I do want people watching this show. And if you want to watch it subbed, I'm not going to stop you. I'm a dub lover. I've always been. I always play my games dubbed. I like the process of localization. I think it makes media a lot more interesting than straight translation. I know a lot of people disagree with that. But you know what? That's just me. If you want to watch it subbed, I think it's on Crunchyroll. Get a free Crunchyroll. You can get those from any YouTuber who's not me. If you want to watch it dubbed, it's on Funimation. Either way, watch it some way. If you're at all interested in Danganronpa, because I do feel even if you don't like the conclusion or you don't like some of the revelations in it, overall the show itself is really well done. Tense moments, funny moments. And it really combines it all in a unique way that I've never seen in an anime before. So, to stop myself from rambling, I think I'm going to call it a part here. But if you have any questions that are spoilery nature that you want my input on in a way that then people won't publicly see, just at me on Twitter at TannerOfTheNorth, and I'll answer questions or give my opinions on stuff, because that way other people won't really see that, so that's good. But yeah, I'm looking really a lot forward to Danganronpa V3 and kind of finishing up this series for now. This series is wonderful, and I was actually worried that this anime would disenchant me a bit with it, because I remember hearing on the podcast, the Two Best Friends Play podcast, saying that, it kind of makes the games, and that's just them being cynical little sillies, but I thought that this increased my love for the series, and it's easily one of my favorite series of all time now. I've also heard similar stuff about V3. You know what? If it's the same thing, I think I'm going to enjoy it. So, thank you all for watching, everyone, or listening, I guess. It's a kind of a podcasty thing. And we'll see you all for Danganronpa V3 in the near future after I finish Beautiful Joe. So, thank you all for watching, guys. Ciao. You can push yourself to the limit, be a short night jump with me. You can fly above a rainbow with me, close your eyes and just believe. Nothing's gonna stop you and me from getting into every one while the beat is kicking.